The Galactic Council Chamber was the heart of the known universe. Here, the most powerful species gathered to decide the fate of entire civilizations. But among the grand thrones of the galaxy's greatest empires, one seat remained empty. The seat of Earth. No one spoke of it. No one dared to ask. It had been vacant for thousands of years, and no one knew why. A forbidden question. Kale, a young researcher from the Archivist Guild, had spent his life studying lost histories. He had read about ancient wars, forgotten empires, and fallen worlds. But one mystery stood above all others: humanity. They had once been a great power, a force that shaped the universe itself. Then, one day, they vanished. No war, no disaster. They simply left, and yet their seat remained, a silent reminder that they were still meant to be here. But why? What had happened to them? Why had the Council erased all records of Earth? No one knew. Or rather, no one wanted to know. An ancient warning. Kel had asked his mentor once, years ago. It was a mistake. Old Master Oris had gone pale, his hands shaking as he whispered, "Never speak of Earth." Kale had laughed, thinking it was a joke. But then Oris leaned in, his voice deadly serious. "There is a reason we do not look for them, a reason their seat remains empty. Some knowledge is too dangerous to uncover." Kale had stayed silent after that. But the mystery never left his mind. A dangerous discovery. Now, years later, Kale had found something. A single hidden archive deep in the Council's restricted database. It was old, untouched for millennia. And inside, a name. A single forbidden word. Earth. His heart pounded. The file had coordinates. A location deep in the void, far beyond explored space. A place the Council had never spoken of. A place no ship had returned from. Cal's hands trembled over his console. This was it. The answer to the greatest mystery in galactic history. Should he open it? Did he even dare? His instincts screamed no. But his curiosity, he couldn't stop himself. The truth buried in the stars. As he activated the file, the lights in his research station flickered. His screen went dark. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a message appeared. Not data, not history, just a single sentence. "You should not be here." Cal's blood ran cold. Who had sent this? How could they know? He wasn't connected to any networks. The file had been locked for thousands of years. And yet, someone had answered. Something is watching. Suddenly, his console began shutting down. Files erased themselves. Data collapsed into nothingness. It was as if the universe itself was trying to bury the truth. Kale jumped back as his entire system crashed. The screen went black. Then, just before it died completely, one final message appeared. "Do not search for us." And then, darkness. The question no one should ask. Kale sat frozen, his mind racing. Who had sent that message? Was it a warning? A threat? Or something worse? One thing was certain. The mystery of Earth was not forgotten. It was hidden. On purpose. And if humanity was still out there, they did not want to be found. But why? What were they hiding? And more importantly, what would happen if someone found them? Kale knew one thing for sure. He had to know the truth, even if it cost him everything. Kel's breath echoed in his helmet as he stepped through the ruins. The city was massive, silent, dead, yet he felt something watching them. Something alive. A forgotten civilization. The buildings were old, thousands of years old. But they were not alien. The design, the writing on the walls, it was human. Kale touched a broken sign, brushing off the dust. The letters were faded, but he could still read them. New Eden, Sector 12. His stomach tightened. This was not just a human colony. This was Earth's lost city. The underground door. Rhea checked her scanner. No power, No life signs, she muttered. Just ruins. But Cal's scanner said otherwise. A faint signal, coming from beneath them. Then he saw it. A hatch in the ground, half buried in rubble. A hidden entrance. Someone sealed this, Cal whispered. Then maybe we should leave it that way, Rhea said. But Cal was already pulling away the debris. Whatever was down there, it was still active, and he needed to know why. A message from the past. The hatch opened with a hiss. A staircase led into darkness. As they stepped inside, the lights flickered on, ancient power systems still running. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. Cold. Mechanical. Access granted. Welcome back, humanity. Cal's blood ran cold. Rhea gripped her weapon. Okay, that's creepy. They followed the corridor, passing through abandoned control rooms, old screens covered in dust. Then they found it. A terminal. Still working. Cal wiped the dust from the screen. A video file blinked. He hesitated, then played it. A human face appeared. An old man, tired, desperate, and his words shook Cal to his core. The warning. If you are hearing this, humanity is gone. Cal's stomach twisted. The man continued. We did not die. We did not lose a war. We chose to disappear. The screen glitched, but the message went on. The galaxy was not ready for what we became. Rhea whispered, What does that mean? Cal couldn't answer. The man leaned closer to the camera. Leave this place. Forget Earth. If the galaxy finds out the truth, it will not survive. The screen shut off. Silence filled the room. Cal's mind raced. What had humanity done? Where did they go? And most importantly, who else knew about this? The ship dropped out of hyperspace, shaking violently as it entered the forbidden sector. Cal gripped the console, his breath caught in his throat. They had arrived. But something was wrong. A dead sector. The coordinates led to a dark, empty void. No planets. No stars. Just nothing. It was unnatural. The galaxy should have been full of celestial bodies. But here, silence. Rhea checked the scanners. This isn't possible, she whispered. No life. No signals. Not even debris. It was as if something had wiped this entire region from existence. A ghostly signal. Then a sound broke the silence. A faint transmission. Weak. Ancient. Calling out across the void. Cal's fingers trembled as he adjusted the signal. The static cleared. And then, a voice. Cold. Hollow. You were warned. The crew froze. Rhea's eyes widened. Who? What was that? Cal swallowed hard. I don't know. But his heart told him the truth. Something was still here. And it was watching them. The black planet. The scanner suddenly picked up an anomaly. A massive object, hidden in the darkness. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It was something else. Rhea hesitated. Are you sure about this? Cal nodded. We came this far. We have to see. As the ship moved closer, the object became clear. It was a planet. But it was unnatural. No atmosphere. No sunlight. Just pure black rock, absorbing all light around it. A world that should not exist. And yet, here it was. Waiting. A world of ruins. They landed cautiously, stepping onto the dark surface. The air was thin but breathable. And all around them, ruins. Massive buildings, crumbling with time. Cal's chest tightened. The architecture, it was human. This had once been a city of Earth. But it had been abandoned for thousands of years. What happened here? Rhea whispered. Cal didn't have an answer. But one thing was clear. This was not a dead world. Something was still here. Watching. Waiting. And it knew they had arrived. Cal stood frozen. The last message of humanity echoed in his mind. We did not die. We did not lose a war. We chose to disappear. Why? What had humanity become? And why was the truth so dangerous? Rhea swallowed hard. We should leave. Now. But Kel couldn't. Not yet. He had to know. A hidden chamber. The computer wasn't finished. Another screen blinked. Restricted file detected. Open. Cale didn't hesitate. The screen filled with data. Numbers. Maps. Strange symbols. And then, a name. The Ascension Project. Rhea leaned over his shoulder. What the hell is that? Cal's hands trembled as he scrolled through the files. Records, experiments, evolution. They weren't just about war. They were about something more. Something beyond understanding. The last experiment. A final entry appeared. A scientist speaking into the camera. He looked exhausted, afraid. If this file is opened, it means someone found us. Cal's heart pounded. We tried to warn them. The Council, the other species, they didn't listen. The scientists sighed. We surpassed them, grew beyond them, became something more than just human. He leaned closer. They feared us, and they were right to. The video glitched. The Ascension Project was a success, but the price was too high. A shadow moved behind him. Something inhuman. And then, the video cut to black. A monster in the dark. Cale barely had time to think before the alarm screamed. Rhea pulled out her weapon. What did you do? Cale checked the terminal. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocols activated. The ground shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. And then, a door slammed open. Something stepped inside. A shape, a figure. It walked like a human. But its eyes glowed. Its skin shifted like liquid metal. And when it spoke, Cale felt his blood turn to ice. You should not have come here. Cale could not sleep. The words on his screen haunted him. Do not search for us. It was a warning, a threat, or maybe a challenge. The file was gone, erased. But Cale had seen the coordinates, a place beyond known space, the last recorded location of Earth, and he knew what he had to do. A dangerous journey. No one had traveled to those coordinates in recorded history. Not a single explorer, not a single probe. The Council had forbidden it. Why? Because the truth was too dangerous. But Cale had spent his life uncovering secrets, and he was not going to stop now. He needed a ship. He needed to leave before the Council found out what he had done. And most importantly, he needed to know what was waiting at the edge of the galaxy. A ship, a crew, a mission. Cale wasn't a pilot. He wasn't a soldier. But he knew someone who could help. He found Captain Rhea, an ex-smuggler and one of the few people reckless enough to take on a mission like this. When he showed her the coordinates, she frowned. This is a death wish. Maybe, Cale admitted, but I have to go. She sighed. You're lucky I like insane missions. Within hours, the ship was ready. A small crew, no official records. Just a group of explorers flying into the unknown. And no one knew what was waiting for them. A galaxy that watches. But Cale had made a mistake. He thought the Council didn't know what he had done. He was wrong. Across the galaxy, in the heart of the Council chamber, alarms flashed. A silent system had been tripped. The forbidden coordinates had been accessed. High Chancellor Vorik stood in the shadows, staring at the alert. His face was grim. This is bad, he muttered. A fellow counselor looked at him, confused. Why? It's just an old file. Vorik turned to him, eyes cold. If they find Earth. He didn't finish his sentence. Because they both knew. If Cale reached those coordinates, the entire galaxy could fall. Into the unknown. Cale stood on the bridge of the ship. The engines hummed. The navigation was set. This was it. As they jumped into hyperspace, Cale's heart pounded. He knew the risks. He knew he might not return. But the truth was out there, and he was going to find it, even if it destroyed him. Kel's breath caught in his throat. The figure stood motionless, its glowing eyes locked onto him. Rhea aimed her weapon, finger tense on the trigger. But something inside Kale screamed at him not to shoot. This thing, whatever it was once human, and it was still alive. A voice from the past. The figure tilted its head. Its voice was calm. Too calm. You are not supposed to be here. Kale swallowed hard. Who? What are you? The figure stepped closer. Its body moved like liquid metal, but its face was perfectly human. You should not have awakened me. It raised a hand, not as a threat, but as a warning. Kale felt something. A presence inside his mind. A whisper. A memory. Not his own. The truth of the Ascension Project. Visions flooded his brain. A lab. Scientists. Experiments. Human bodies changing, evolving, becoming something beyond flesh. The galaxy had seen humanity as dangerous. But they didn't know the real reason why humans left. They had become something the universe could not control. Something beyond mortality, beyond war, beyond fear. And so, they vanished. Not in defeat, not in exile, but by choice. They had evolved beyond the need for planets, ships, or even physical bodies. They had become something new, something unstoppable, something the galaxy was not ready for. The Guardian's warning. Kale collapsed to his knees as the visions faded. His mind ached. His heart raced. He looked up at the figure, the last remnant of the old humanity. You weren't supposed to find this place, it said. Kale forced himself to stand. Why? The figure's eyes dimmed. Because the galaxy still fears what it does not understand. It turned to Rhea. You must leave. If they know you are here, they will come. Kale clenched his fists. Who? The figure's voice turned cold. The Galactic Council. The ones who forced humanity to make this choice. And then, the alarms blared again. Not from the ruins. From orbit. Rhea checked her communicator. Her face went pale. Kale, she whispered. They're already here. The sky burned. Massive warships descended from orbit. The Galactic Council had arrived. Kale and Rhea stood frozen as the ruins shook from the landing forces. The figure, the last remnant of old humanity, stared upward. They came faster than expected, it murmured. Cal's heart pounded. What do we do? The figure turned to him. Its glowing eyes flickered. And then, it smiled. The fear of the galaxy. The Council had feared humanity for centuries. They had told the universe that Earth was gone, that humans were extinct. But now, Kale and Rhea had found the truth, and the Council would not let them leave alive. Outside, soldiers deployed from dropships. Armored, armed, ready for war. A voice echoed from their speakers. Surrender the facility, surrender the knowledge, or be destroyed. Rhea gripped her rifle. We are so dead. Kale clenched his fists. No. The figure stepped forward. It looked at the incoming army and whispered, No, they are. The awakening. The ruins trembled. Energy surged through the ground. The air hummed. The figure's body shifted. Its eyes burned like stars. You wanted to erase us, it said, its voice echoing. You feared what we became. And now, you will see why. The ruins came alive. Ancient structures shifted, revealing massive towers. Machines powered on after centuries of silence. Then, figures emerged from the shadows. Not one, not two, hundreds, thousands. More like the figure, humans who had ascended. They had been waiting. And now, they were awake. The battle begins. The Council forces opened fire. Energy blasts streaked across the ruins. Explosions rocked the ground, but the awakened humans did not fall. They moved like ghosts. Bullets passed through them. They warped space around them. And then, they struck back. With just a thought, ships fell from the sky. Soldiers vanished, erased from existence. The Council had come to destroy a secret. Instead, they had unleashed humanity. A new future. Kale and Rhea stood in shock. They had come searching for the past. Instead, they had witnessed the return of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The battle was over before it even began. The Council's fleet was gone. The ruins stood tall once more. And the figure turned to Kale. "You have a choice," it said. "Return to the stars and tell them what you saw. Or stay and become something greater." Kale looked at Rhea. She nodded. There was only one choice. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same again.